All right.
Hello
Um,
and good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever anybody may be watching this from. Thank you so much
Hi.
for joining us for our session today.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So happy for you all to catch up and see this if you're joining in from a recording today. Um, Welcome as well. Hopefully, this will be a inspiring session for you. Hi, Melissa. Happy to be with you today again. It's been a while since we co-delivered, so it's amazing for us to do this together.
Yes, I always love the opportunity, especially about such an exciting topic. Today we are focusing on AI. It's the talk of the town for almost every tech community. And I think what we're going through today, focusing on upskilling and job hunting smarter using more efficient techniques is really a relevant topic for a lot of folks out in the job market.
Yeah, no, for sure. Um, well, I guess before we get started, let's do a quick introduction so you all are aware of who we are, or maybe are reminded if you have seen us before. So
Yeah,
my
my name is go
sorry,
for
go
it.
ahead.
Nope. Ladies first.
Both of us. We should rock, paper, scissors, right? No, I'm kidding. So yeah, okay, I'll go. Hi everyone, my name is Kristin Singh. I'm a technical trainer for a known IT company. And I am a Microsoft certified trainer as well. So I get to deliver a lot of content around Microsoft um, trainings. And before that, I was also a CompTIA trainer, so that allowed me to also deliver trainings in that sense. All in all, it's all about learning and development, and that's where I find some value. I enjoy helping others in the upskilling. So I get to do that in my main role, and I'm really happy today to also help others in their journey through learning and development, through doing this through our Breaking Barriers Women in Cybersecurity platform. So thank you all for joining in and hope you enjoy this training.
Excellent. And Kristen is it's always a pleasure to have the opportunity to present and to train and help educate folks with Kristen because not only is she really passionate about it, but it's also something that I'm really passionate about as well. So I currently am in also in the tech field. I do training and training program development for a software development company. Prior to that, I taught English as a second language in South Korea, and I am also a Microsoft certified trainer. So, over the course of the time that I've had in teaching and training, something that I tend to focus on a lot is how we can apply what we're learning to real world scenarios to make it matter. And I think that's probably the most engaging way for us to, participate in our own learning and for things to really stick. So as Kristen and I go throughout our presentation with each other, we're hoping to approach this as a conversation about this, evolving tools and AI that we have at our disposal here. Um, and I hope we all will be able to come away with some more applied uh, use cases for these tools.
Yeah, indeed. So who are we and who are we representing, at least in this training? We are fortunate to be part of this community. It's an amazing community called Breaking Barriers Women in Cybersecurity. And anyone can be a member. This is our opportunity to get folks all collective in in a community to learn about whether it be things from upskilling in sessions like these or attending networking events, different types of trainings around cybersecurity, or even we've been doing also in the past other trainings that are near about cybersecurity. We tend to realize the idea of cybersecurity will tap into any part of or any facet of your life. So we have a variety of resources that are available and a really amazing community that you can reach out to of variety, a diverse set of folks from all over the world. So definitely encourage you to check it out. And Melissa, if you want to add anything else to that, feel free to.
Yeah, I think the real mission around the organization is breaking barriers for women. And yeah, there we have a focus for cybersecurity, but it is a really great experience and very empowering to be a part of an organization that has that kind of focus and mindset. So today, what we're participating in is our training and development. That's just one small facet of what that community does when it comes to actually helping to break those barriers. A lot of connection and networking, a lot of different resources and information, like Kristin said. So please do, if you're not already a member, feel free to join.
Yeah, we will also be bringing this up near the end as well, so you'd find resources on how you can join as well at the end. Awesome. All right, so let's move on to what you can expect for this session. With this session, we're going to high level talk about an overview of the AI technology evolution with a special focus on two parts of it in which the world is kind of focusing and changing into around the AI era that we're in. So we're going to talk about the generative AI area around AI technologies and the predictive AI and how they're different, some key differences between them, and then kind of relating that to when we're looking at career development and what we can probably tap into with those technologies to help us. This is not an exhaustive list that we're going to go through. These are suggested ways to get you inspired. There's going to be so many different ways that you can go about using these technologies. We're just bringing in our experiences and some of them for you. And hopefully this will inspire you to think even broader about other possibilities. Then we'll lean into a scenario, and through that, we'll go through some sample situations and sample kind of things that you can walk away with, or tips you can walk away with, to also inspire yourself in your career advancement and in your job hunting if you are exploring in your career or another career. So that is what you can expect. All right, so let's get started with the idea of where we are and where we're going to be and where we were. So what we have here is actually an AI generated image. We're trying to do that as well, also in our work to show you the use of us using it as well. But this was actually inspired by a talk that was done by the CEO of NVIDIA around the evolution of AI. And it was kind of inspired by that. What we want to look at is how the growth curve is around the AI evolution and what artificial intelligence is and becoming. A lot of our work in many different companies utilize this idea of predictive AI, and people may also tap into this area as well. And this is all about analyzing historical data and forecasting future trends. It's about thinking as if you are trying to figure out the next thing based on the knowledge that you already know. Um, and that was the whole idea around predictive AI. We're going to talk more about that very soon. But as we move into the space that the world is in right now, you've heard talks about generative AI. That is where a lot of generative AI solutions you may be familiar with have come about. And then we're leaning into something called agentic AI that then deals with autonomy and systems that can reason for itself and act towards goals that we want without a constant input. The North Star, ideally, as well, is also the physical AI space. And we're not quite there yet. That is why we're seeing that at the very top of the curve. And that's where intelligence will meet actual physical robotics, where physical machines will be interacting and manipulating in the physical world, even without any input from humans. So this is looking at that. I'm going to pass it over to Mellissa now, and we'll kind of hyper focus on the first two parts.
Yeah, I want to mention that as we go through our presentation today, something I noticed, we often think about it in what we'll present as we go into our application of some of the information is the before and the now, and then what the future looks like. And so that chart indicating, we started here on, predictive AI, it's only able to predict because it has historical data. So there's always this sense of the before. And when we get to now, our goal is to kind of look at where we're going toward the future. So that's kind of a theme, not only in how AI, functions for us, but also how we look at the transition into the job market, the job search, and building the skills that we have. So we can go on to the next one. I wanted to spend a few moments because talking about generative versus predictive AI. I know that that was in the title of our presentation. We wanted to really highlight this, not because of these two very, very specific terms, but just to show that there's a lot of vocabulary out there. So, yeah, we've got our generative, we've got predictive AI, and as Kristin just showed, we are also evolving. There are lots of different avenues to go into the field of AI as far as building your skills or just even researching and understanding it in general. So for the two that we're really focusing on, the predictive AI and the generative, in the predictive case, we are using machine learning to look at that historical data. We've got those patterns, those trends that have already been established, and we're using tools and software and services to extrapolate the future. What we're using to accomplish this, we've got big data analytics, there's deep learning. And as far as our use cases, we look at something like inventory management or forecasting, HR, and finance. I think about inventory management this time of year. In the US, we just recently had our Thanksgiving holiday, and we are rapidly moving already into the Christmas holiday. So we think about historical data. Imagine manufacturers are trying to ensure that they don't manufacture too many products and goods, but we have enough to meet needs. And this is really represented in a lot of different industries and businesses. So we take that, the big data analytics, all of that information, the historical data that's been collected, and can use that to predict, well, last year this particular product went really well, and we ran out of stock. This year we need to make sure that we don't run out of stock. And how can we ensure the sustainability of our business with a kind of evolving landscape for purchasing? So we look then at generative AI, which is, I think, a lot of where people are accessing AI services potentially without really even knowing it, but also it's really just more readily available to the general public. In this one, we're using large language models to generate new content from natural language prompts. So we have some examples that I'm almost certainly everyone has heard of, at least. We have ChatGPT, Dolly. There's also code and music generators and different use cases for this. These are in some ways a little bit more broad, right? We've got content creation. Well, what does that mean? It's definitely not as specific as like inventory management. And that's certainly because content creation can appear in across industries and fields and for different purposes. We have a great example of the chart that Kristin just showed us regarding the evolution of AI. That's an example of using AI to generate new content. Automation is really just seeking out, I think, efficiency and accuracy. So generative AI ensures that we're able to automate items and processes. And then ideation. We're going to show some examples of different prompts that one can use for various purposes. I think ideation, though, is another example of the creative application of AI and then generative AI. So once again, on the left, we've got our predictive AI. We know where we are. We need to understand where we're going. And on the right, generative AI is how are we going to make some new things with the information that we have already collected? Do you have anything you'd like to add for this one, Kristin?
No, that was pretty good. Well, actually, it made me think the ideation part made me think about a lot of times in projects and when you develop new things for initiatives, um, a lot of times we tend to be very much at the ground, meaning we are quick to execute ideas. We're quick to try to be tenacious and complete things. But sometimes some of these projects and initiatives may lack enough brainstorming. We may roll with one idea that someone came up, but the idea of generative AI now allowing us a space to think even broader or to get more ideas that we can then tap into and encourage even more brainstorming. So we can be in the cloud a little bit more around trying to come up with ideas that are even beyond just one idea that we just end up taking in. I think it's pretty good. The evolution of what projects and initiatives can become as a result of this ideation part now expanding with the help of AI is, I think it's extraordinary. So I like that.
Excellent point, for sure. So the first, again, part of our presentation is looking at what's currently going on in the environment. We've got career opportunities. So let's go ahead and explore if we wanted to be involved in AI in our careers. Really, what kinds of things could we go out and do? We've got opportunities like being a cloud engineer, cloud architects, data scientists, but you'll also notice what I had mentioned earlier, even inventory management. We have um, other areas of business that just aren't necessarily exclusively tech or data focused. There's marketing, there's finance, and then content development, and that spans a lot. We talk about our roles as trainers, as instructors. There's entire content development teams, there's instructional designers, but then we look at marketing and content creators, content managers. Those are newly emerging roles out on the market that can be heavily influenced by AI. And if we look at those particular roles, though, so again, we're looking at what does it look like to in AI, or what kinds of skills would I need to have? You would maybe want to understand or explore some predictive analytics tools if you want to focus on the more data-centric approach. Also, programming languages, like in the being a cloud architect or even being a developer. If you're not as inclined for the more hard technical application of it, you can look more at governance as well. How organizations are managing AI, managing security, compliance, identity, and ethics. That is also a newly emerging kind of need, and therefore creating some dedicated roles. And then the last one that we'll be exploring a lot of in our scenario later on will be prompt engineering. Now, I'm again feel like this has been kind of more of a buzz phrase these days. I would imagine that a lot of folks have an idea of what prompt engineering is, but it is having that understanding of how to effectively interact with AI tools. There's a lot of options that are really approachable, readily available, that find on cell phones and web browsers. But prompt engineering, we listed here intentionally as a skill because there's a dedicated mindset focused on efficiency and accuracy and getting what you need out of the AI services. So again, I think Kristin had mentioned this before. A lot of what we're saying is not going to be totally comprehensive. There are many, many, many jobs that are specifically related to AI that are in the, building it and working with it, and a lot of variety of skills. These were the ones that we just wanted to highlight for those who are exploring a field or a career in AI specifically. So now we're going to move on into applying AI strategies. And these are not actually specific to getting a job in AI. I mentioned the roles, cloud architect or content manager. The process that I have outlined here is really usable across wherever you're at in your journey. Maybe you have a role that you're in currently and you love your role, but you may be facing a very real reality of potential layoffs. Maybe you're not really excited about the role that you're in and you want to see what other opportunities are out there. It's always really good to be prepared, even if you're feeling great with where you're at. All of these steps in this process you can apply. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead.
Sorry, that was good points. And I personally really like this slide in particular. We're both in roles that we enjoy, but it's always good to always check in with yourself and reflect, just to see where you're going, and to also have to not just stay in your comfort zone where you are at. And this allows, I think, it's a really good slide for me to also look at and reflect, do some self-reflection, and see while I'm in this role, what should I tap into to explore, and what is the possibilities in my 5 or 10 year outlook as well. So. Thank you.
Yeah, well, and I mentioned this earlier. I approach this process as kind of like the chart we had before. Here's the before, here's the during, and here's the after, right? So the first one we have is going to be the self-assessment. So where are we at right now? And the different kinds of activities that might be entailed in this is a resume review, your current resume. If you don't have a resume, type one up or just imagine what are the things that I would put on my resume for right now? Where am I at? And in that, we would work to identify different strengths and skills that we have in our current inventory. And something really important, defining values and interests. I know that in an ideal world, we would all work in jobs that are interesting to us and that really check all of the boxes of job satisfaction. But I think in a lot of cases, people have an internal debate or an internal conversation of, am I really going to get paid the money that I need to in that role? In the role that I'm at, maybe I get more than enough money, but it just really isn't what I see myself doing for, the rest of my career, my future. Maybe there are other things that you have to consider: work-life balance, the value of, attending to things. Perhaps a person in a role would love to travel more, whereas somebody who travels so much would love to stay home with their family more. Right? All of these are related to values and interests, the value of how you spend your time and the interests that you have that's going to make your job really very satisfying and sustainable. So the self-assessment is just the where are we at right now? And that would take us to the next part, which is the career exploration.
Yeah. And yeah, the exploration part, that's what we're talking about. And we'll look at processes of what it looked like before and after AI. But when you think about exploring the career, we're thinking about, okay, what is available for us? What type of jobs can we do after doing a self-assessment on identifying our skills? What are the careers that are in demand right now, and on what are the possible paths that I could take. And that's all in the research phase, right? That ideation phase that we talked about around probably even using generative AI to help us. That is something that we'll be talking about through exploring. I know for a fact I'm someone that have shifted in my career a few times. It's not because I've closed the door on previous careers. It's just because I've done some self-assessments and realized I want to gain more skills or I find purpose or meaning on certain parts of things that I learned in previous roles, and I wanted to hyper focus on that. And that's why right now my focus area is on learning and development. I love helping others, and I find meaning knowing that I can help someone along the way through their upskilling. So that's why, for me, this process seems very real, especially having changed careers from actuarial to logistics and retail to now coming to learning and development space as well. So we'll get to talk more about that as well very soon. But after we've done that, after we've explored different roles, that's where we get into identifying our skills.
Yeah, what this really means is identifying skills in two different ways. Identifying what you have right now, and once we've done that career exploration, maybe there's something else that we want to move into. Maybe we want to move up into a role that's related to what we have. Well, it may require additional skills, or actually, I may find I'm a really great fit based on what I already have in my current role. If we're going to perhaps pivot into a new field, a new environment, a new organization, maybe there are skills I don't have that I need. So, this section on identifying skills is very much what do I have right now? And then comparing it with what would be necessary for any of those target roles that we identified in our career exploration. So, really sitting and being intentional about this will help us evaluate new skills that we may need to learn or develop for the next step in our process.
Yeah, and then will come that strategy of, okay, we've gone through the self-assessments, we've explored the different roles that are there, we've identified what skills we need to even gain or what we already have as well. But now when it actually comes to putting things into action, we have to realize, especially in this day and age, the idea of, yes, searching outward to actually find the jobs that we want to apply to. But there's even more to that now in this wheel that we're in right now around the idea of networking and creating, being part of communities where people are aware of who you are and aware of what you're able to offer or your potential of what you can do. So finding ways to tap into those places that may even be outside your comfort zone as well. Yeah. Sorry, I think, yeah, I think that was the echo I heard on your side.
Oh, sorry about that. I did not hear an echo. I appreciate
Oh,
it. Let me know if you hear it again.
for sure.
All right. So, yeah, this is our process, and we've got a scenario for you. We have our character Morgan, and Morgan is on the hunt for a security job. Keep in mind, whatever role you're in right now doesn't necessarily have to be looking for something in security, but we definitely think that it's really appropriate considering our mission of our organization is breaking barriers for women in cybersecurity. In our scenario here, Morgan wants to use their recent understanding of AI to help in their job hunting. So these are the 4 steps. I want to emphasize again, these 4 steps are not necessarily comprehensive. When we were kind of trying to determine the flow of our presentation, we actually sought some assistance from AI to help take all of these ideas that we have and condense it in a way that kind of makes sense and is digestible. So we'll take Morgan through a little bit of a journey through these 4 steps, starting with a self-assessment.
And I guess before even doing that, just acknowledging that some of the things that we'll be prescribing would be around even tapping into that space of prompting a solution like a generative AI solution for us and seeking out help or seeking out responses that can help us in our self-assessment or career exploration and identifying skills in our job search strategy. That's one approach that we're taking. So before we get into that, I think it'll be good to bring up a sort of recipe around prompting as well. Um, this is something that you can utilize in a lot of, regardless of the solution that you're using from whatever provider out there, there are a lot of out of the box, readily available generative AI solutions that utilizes that large language model that they have trained to be able to give responses based on our request. So before we get into that, I just wanted to highlight this idea of four things, or at least 4 to 5 things that you should keep in mind when you are trying to get help or utilize an assistant like a co-pilot or ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever the solution is out there for you. So we have these 4 pieces. I like to consider it like a one bowl recipe to bake a cake. And I just think about if I want that cake, which kind of is synonymous to if I want the generative AI to create a solution for me, if I want to create a cake, I need to make sure I have 4 main things as part of that request that I'm asking in order to get that response out. So the first thing is always thinking about what are you trying to achieve, the goal behind it, what are you trying to accomplish from reaching out and getting a solution to provide a response to you. Am I trying to do something through uh, to help me with my self-assessment, to help me with my job strategy, right? Those are just some examples. But then also thinking about the source in my prompting. That has to do with the idea of when we ask a solution to help us to gather ideas or to create something for us, what those solutions would do is if we're not specific, it will go out and I like to say fish through anywhere in the entire ocean to gather to gather the information for us. If we are specific, it will go to the specific place and look precisely there for us in order to help with the response. So that is a term we call grounding, and it's something that we should always consider when we're creating a prompt to request to the AI assistant. So in this case, the analogy here is making sure you go to the actual recipe, the specific recipe for the cake that I want to get baked. I'm going to look at that recipe. And then the context is adding more settings or configurations that you want it to know about. You know, if it's a specific industry that you want to look at, if you want it to act as a career coach or a HR recruiter or an ATS system, you know, give it that persona so that it can tap into that area that it's knowledgeable about to provide even more contextual information, right? So the context is very important as well. The last part is something that I feel is quite a bit overlooked, the idea of expectations. If we don't say how you want it to be received, then it will just do a default way of doing things. Oh, try to reason and figure out how to respond. So this is where lies the specifics of give me the top 10 points or create a document or create a presentation for me or put it in a format of an email to because we give context, it's going to go to a potential hiring manager, create an email for me, right? So the expectations of what it looks like. So all of this is like kind of like my 4 ingredient recipe that will go into what we need to do when creating a prompt. And it is expected. It's not going to be always perfect. It's going to help us at least with a first draft of things. But when that response comes out, we can still question it, iterate on it, we can build on it, we can verify the response as well. So I want us to take this into consideration when we get into this different parts of our career job hunting process. So I'll pass it over to Mellissa here with the self-assessment.
I appreciate it, and I always love a good infographic. The I guess the process there is made really clear. So the next kind of section, again, we're following along with Morgan Morgan's on the hunt for a job. And where we start first is our self-assessment. We need to identify core values and interests to make sure that your career is what matters most to you. And that, again, is maybe where you're at right now, your current career, or other roles that you may be considering for your future. So we frame this in a before using AI. Maybe if we didn't have AI available or in the past, um, we would have different resources and options. For example, self-assessment frameworks and tools. So SWOT analysis or Myers-Briggs. Have you ever done the Myers-Briggs evaluation, Kristin?
Yes, I've done that a few times. I've done that, and I think that's a twist on that. Well, I guess it is 16 personalities. I think it's cool. I think it's one of them. And then I've also done something called the Waking Genius as well, which is a productivity standpoint assessment as well. So it's pretty interesting.
Excellent. And I know that for myself in the context of, the Myers-Briggs or SWOT analysis, those frameworks or the tools, it wasn't something I would have known on my own. I think Myers-Briggs was brought up as in one of my past roles where my organization paid for me to complete the assessment, have the result. And I think you've kind of touched on there's a lot of different services and a lot of different kind of approaches that one would take to it. Um, and then journaling, something that you'll find, I hope I'm not misusing the word analog, but a lot of these different steps and activities before using AI seem to be really manual. And what's important to note is that we're not saying that a SWOT analysis or Myers-Briggs or any other sort of frameworks or tools aren't helpful. It just simply is, what do we have right now in our toolbox without AI? When we start incorporating AI in our job hunt, then we're only putting more tools in the existing toolbox. So you may find Myers-Briggs or SWOT analysis or journaling, really just taking that time and be intentional to document like where you're at. That's still a tool that you have at your disposal that you can use. So next, then, we talk about how we incorporate using AI in the job hunt. AI can guide you through and introduce you to new frameworks. So I mentioned that, a SWOT analysis or Myers-Briggs, those wouldn't necessarily be things that I even knew existed as available tools or resources for performing a self-assessment. But when we incorporate AI, we can expand on that existing knowledge or what kind of is available to us only in our environment. Not only that, but AI can guide you through self-reflection exercises, asking questions, summarizing responses. So it can also just kind of help you to understand what your output is. Once you've done your journaling, perhaps, then you take what you've written down and utilize AI to kind of guide you through this assessment. And that brings us to how we would execute on that. We talked earlier, Kristin mentioned there are a lot of different out-of-the-box services already available when it comes to interacting with generative AI. We don't really have a brand favorite. There's Copilot, there's Gemini, there's even Meta has incorporated AI into their chat services like WhatsApp. What's important to note is how you use it is going to be pretty similar. We have an example of a prompt here. In this case, we're going to act as a career coach and help me perform a self-assessment. So when we go back to Kristin's example in our recipe, creating a recipe, we're going to be very clear about what we're defining so that we know what our end result is going to be. So I want to identify my professional strengths, weaknesses, and areas for growth, use frameworks like SWOT analysis and provide actionable insights, and format the response in a table with columns for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So this is an example of a sample prompt. If you have examples, or in our audience, if you have ideas of how you would maybe put a prompt forward into generative AI for a self-assessment, please feel free to type it up there in the chat.
Yeah, and definitely, if we were to relate this, as you said, to that kind of recipe or those core things that we want to make sure we capture, the act as a career coach is definitely the context that we're giving it. Help me perform a self-assessment, that why, and then even more specifics of identifying. That's even more things we're even telling it, look at the framework. We're kind of sourcing, look at the framework of SWOT analysis as well. And the expectations is to provide insights and format the response in a table with columns. That's even expectations there. So definitely intentionally capturing that in the response will give a more meaningful, in the prompt will give a more meaningful response. So taking over now from the self-assessment, moving on to our idea of career exploration. So we've tapped inside, you're reflecting on where we are, where we want to be, or trying to figure out what do we want, through using the responses we get from an AI assistant to help us in that space. We can then go into, okay, let's seeing outside now, what is available for us. So before using AI, we would possibly go to search engines or reach out to folks, by having going to various, I know, like Indeed or LinkedIn or the career sites, or spanning through just the search engine to see what pops up for us around different roles that are out there, and maybe sort of some sort of blog or research that has done about the current year of what are the roles that are in demand. But in addition to that, we've probably pushed ourselves to interact with people that we have not yet met, tried to get informational interviews, or even be part of some sort of internship or volunteer opportunities. And that is what we would have done. And not everyone goes through those phases as well. You may have gone through one of these three. Depending on your personality and how you feel and where your comfort zone is, you may not feel courageous or brave enough to go into some of these places, right? But yet this was the process, right? And it still is the process. People can still go through this process as well. But with the age that we're in this AI era, where we look at tapping into even generative AI solutions, we can now recognize that we have an assistant, we have a help that's afforded to us, or that's accessible to us. There's a lot of free solutions and paid solutions that can help us, right? Where we can get recommendations. We can ask through the prompting for these comparative tables as well. We can get more generation of the jobs that we should look for based on specific requests that we are having and asking it. All right, so if we think about a prompt too, we can think about even asking, suggest 5 career paths or whatever amount of career paths that align with my current skills and interests. It says listed below or attached, give it your resume or give it a blurb about you. And for each path, include typical responsibilities, required qualifications, even a salary range. A lot of places, Glassdoor, for example, and Indeed, and some other places maybe parts where people disclose what the salary ranges are, and then in different countries it's by law to also have the postings of those salaries. So that is what the generative AI can tap into and provide for you. And then present this information, right? How do you want it to be presented for you? That's aligning to the expectations. This is going to save you time. This is us using generative AI to do things that we would have taken many, many hours or days to do. And then if we're someone that has gone through some sort of termination or job loss, and you're looking at getting back into the market, these things might even take longer because we're going through the phases of dealing with that. So knowing that we have these prompts available for us, or the idea of prompting a generative AI solution can get us quicker to getting back on our feet or changing career paths or evolving in our current career. So this is one prompt I'll suggest checking out. But if there's any prompts that this could inspire you to do, if you're part of our community, please share it in our Slack and in our different pages that we have. So I'll move on now to the identify skills.
Yeah, and when I discussed this one earlier, it's from the lens of identify what you currently have. And now that we've done that career exploration, what do we need potentially to move into a new role that we may be eyeing? So in this case, just listing and categorizing the skills, providing job description reviews. So I'm going to find a job that I'm really interested in, and I can ask before using AI, I would manually have to just review the description, right? And just see how it aligns with what I have. And then comparison tables, maybe working something up in Excel, kind of as a documentation for this skills analysis. So this is kind of more of a manual approach, right? I'm going to just list out what I have. I'm going to go find job descriptions and review them on my own, and then maybe build a table for what I'm looking for and what I might need to expand in my skill repertoire to achieve where I want to be. But then once we incorporate AI in our job hunt, we can just add some more analysis to this or enhancement perhaps. So categorizing these different skills into different areas, skill gap analysis. So before using AI, maybe I have a whole chart, I've got an Excel sheet, I've got the job descriptions, I've got what where I want to go, what I'm looking for. But AI can really make it much more concise. And I think Kristin makes a really good point about saving time in analyzing where my gaps are, and then even finding learning resource suggestions. Where can I actually go to develop or learn these skills? And the example prompt that we have here, based on my work experience and achievements listed below, identify my top transferable skills and strengths, categorize them into technical, soft, and leadership skills, and then provide examples of how these skills add value in different roles. So this is going to result in quite a lot. We're asking in this prompt for a lot of information. You may find that it works out better to break it up into some pieces, right? So first, just identify my transferable skills and strengths. That alone is still going to provide you or give you a result of really valuable information. You may not know that you need to categorize them into technical, soft, or leadership skills. So you may actually say, how can I categorize them? Or can you give me some suggestions for that? And then finally, provide examples how they can add value in different roles. That again, alone is going to give you feedback on potentially how you can take what your current skills are in your current role and just improve where you're at even. So that'll be, oh, excellent. We have a demonstration.
Yeah, so just taking that same prompt, I've used it in this example. It's Microsoft Copilot that is part of a personal subscription, and it was included by default, so it's not an added cost and so on. But anyway, this can still be done in any AI solution that you have access to. So we're just taking that prompt, and in my case, I'm just uploading also a resume for Morgan. And now we're just going to feed it that and see what it responds with. I'll just take a pause for a second. So based on my work experience and achievements listed below, below meaning attached here, identify top transferable strengths and skills and categorize them. and provide examples how they add value. So they went ahead and looked at the resume, and you'll see the resume very soon of how small it is. And that resume itself could have gone through, enhancements using AI as well. But this way it went ahead and points out certain things that were called out in the resume, like the use of M365, Microsoft 365, or point of sale systems, showing that they have troubleshooting, skills with store technology. And it says an example of where it could add value is in any customer facing or administration role. The skill ensures smooth operations and quick resolution of technical issues and improving customer satisfaction. There was a mention of using Excel for some basic data analysis, and it showed you can add value through sales tracking and inventory, and helps you identify trends and discrepancies and opportunities for improvement. And then Morgan attended a awareness webinar of some sort, or designed a project. We'll have to double check on what was on the resume, but that highlighted that the link to cybersecurity here through that one experience alone also showcased that they can add value in any workplace where this type of awareness will help protect sensitive information and also educate others as well on, in this case, it was around practices around sale. So here just lists a few different things around technical skills, soft skills as well, based on the resume. And as Mellissa said, quite verbose as well. Quite a lot of different information it gave, right? And how the skills can apply to different roles. It went ahead and listed some roles as well. And then the resume was mentioned, at least for this particular AI solution, where the resume, just opening up the resume right now, be able to see Morgan's resume was just about almost a page in length, and it just talked about Morgan's experience in retail, as well as a bit of their education, which in this case was a high school diploma, and some soft skills that they had on what they're ongoing and pursuing. So very small, but it was able to take that information and try to help you understand some transferable skills that can be helpful in your career advancement. All right, so next up, we have the idea of the job search strategy. This is near the end of the process that we've, kind of utilized in this workshop. This is where we're looking at, okay, we've gone through self-assessment, we've figured out what rules are out there, we've trying to identify what we have access to with the skills, and probably what skills we need to look out at and develop. And now we're trying to tap into the market. We're tapping into the roles, we're tapping into the job boards with those roles, we're tapping into networking opportunities. The idea of ideation with generative AI, as Mellissa brought up, is these are now opportunities that we can use that. But before it existed, our process of doing this was manually going to the various places and finding those job roles, manually going to trying to find out what other networking events are. And that's if you knew about different communities that are out there, word of mouth or through searching in a search engine, and then going through and single-handedly trying to reach out to folks as well. I'm not sure yet about those people. You would have to do manual ability to learn about people that you want to reach out to as well, whether it be sending emails and so on. So that was before the use of AI, and it's still being done. But now with the use of AI, we can do these things even with a shorter space of time. We could now alleviate a lot of manual work that we did, and we can prompt our AI solutions, or generative AI solutions, to help understand or help get us to some strategies that we should take, help us with our own time management and management of these strategies, and help also create some draft outreach messages or emails to different communities or different hiring managers, potential persons that we want to network with, and then we can use that to streamline that outreach process as well. And that lends to that automation for us. And then even more so when we look at us and our own branding and marketing, we can use AI assistants to help us with creation of our own portfolio. We can ask it to help show us how to create a website, how to create a GitHub page or a repo to showcase our skills, website to put our information in, or some sort of place that we can go that's probably free or low cost for us, and how to do so, right? So the job search strategy, it can be endless. We've just mentioned some here to get you some inspiration. And one of the prompts that we can look at is even develop a job search strategy for me based on my target role, going through that process before, and the industry that we're looking to be part of. Include recommended boards, networking tips, even LinkedIn or the place that we want to go, optimization strategies for reaching out, and also coin an outreach template and messaging for us. And then even provide this in a step-by-step way for me so that I can consume that, or for Morgan so that they can consume that to help them in their job search. So this is just one, and this is quite a lot of things captured in this one prompt. Again, we can take this in pieces as well. So
Excellent. One of the notes I want to make, I know that we're kind of running up on time, but some of the things we've pointed out are also really helpful in kind of an accessibility lens. For example, we talk about networking. Maybe you're not able to attend networking events. Maybe the demands of your current life or your current job just prevent you from being able to do that. Or maybe just being able to take the time to sit down and just do the journaling. Like, time in and of itself is a resource that a lot of people don't have. So I mentioned earlier, I think about this like, we've got these tools in our existing toolbox. Well, if you're in a situation where you're not able to travel or you don't have kind of that peer group, um, then you don't have those tools in your toolbox. But if you do, then AI is only going to be able to enhance it. If you don't, then it will still give you more than you had before.
yeah, it's a really good points. So I think from what we captured there, I know we looked through the lens of using prompt engineering for generative AI solutions. The capabilities are endless of what we can tap into, from using, even we looked at what predictive AI is as well. I know we focused on generative AI as we looked at that evolution curve with the AI technologies. We're focusing on where we're at and going to in our evolution in the AI era that we're sort of in. So coming back with the prompt engineering, remembering these key pieces that are going to make an effective prompt to utilize the tool that we now all have in our toolbox, access to through the generative AI solution. That's one thing you should tap into. And if you feel as though I don't know how to do something, first dial in and prompt, try to use a generative AI solution to help you learn how to do that. It can walk you through, it can help you with some ideas. And the idea of trust but verify, a lot of these solutions will come out with a response, and a lot of them also provide some referencing websites or referencing documentation. So always dial in on that to just make sure that the information it's giving you seems reputable. And then even going beyond that, remember that in that AI evolution curve that we looked at, we're entering another place of agentic AI. And that is where we're leveraging the data, that the past data of predictive, and that's coined in or creates the predictive AI space that we looked at. We're leveraging the ability to create new content through generative AI as well. But now we're looking at utilizing something like agents, where we can kind of hand off some work, some automated processes or workflows to where they can do things with minimal human input as well, because we've set that up for it to do so. So that is something you can even talk to an AI, generative AI solution to learn more about how you can even create your own workflows and automated agents by asking it how to do so as a step-by-step way, and leveraging things like, for example, we have ChatGPT has a feature where you can create your own sort of agent as well in their chat experience. And that's one way. So I'll challenge you to even talk to, or when I say talk, I mean prompt, and get that information in as well. So these are some ways that you can use it. And again, this is not exhausted. So feel free to also share some of your ideas to our community when you've joined, if you've not yet joined our Breaking Barriers Women in Cybersecurity community. All right, so today we looked at the skills that are in demand. We talked about roles that can, at its core of the role, it requires generative AI and predictive AI skills. And then we've also looked at roles where we recognize they can enhance or be better or work smarter with using generative AI skills. We then looked at a scenario with Morgan and looked at this process of, if Morgan was to look for a job, what are the steps that Morgan can take, and what they would have gone through prior to the existence of tools that are available to us. And now, with the existence of that, we tapped into even using a prompt to help in each of those processes. All right. So beyond that, just have a look at trying some of those prompts that we shared, and going even beyond that. Hopefully, that has inspired you to try new things to get more insights in your exploration. Mellissa, anything else that you want to add there?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to share this information. And um, I think that uh, the real thing to keep in mind, again, human interaction is still essential. It's still important. It's a huge component of this process that we were looking at. I think a self-assessment is best informed if you have other folks to kind of give you some feedback on, where you're at or identifying skills. So in this case, AI isn't replacing some of the activities or the steps that you would take. It's just helping us to enhance it and, again, make things more efficient, more accurate, save time, help us explore what new opportunities are there that we may not be able to find on our own.
Yeah. If you've enjoyed this training and you want to come back to other sessions that we have, or just be part of an amazing community, I encourage you to join the BBWIC community, bbwic.com. You can find us there. We're also in different social media platforms on X, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So come join us. There's only so much more you can gain. There's nothing to lose in this process, and it's definitely like incubators of accelerating your growth, your networking, and sharing ideas to help each other out. Lots of opportunities here. So looking forward to seeing you in that community.
Yes, and I see a really excellent comment, a remark on using AI to find local real life networking events is a good idea as well. So again, kind of creating that bridge between what resources we have around us in our environment and what we have just from the comfort of our computer and our desk.
Definitely. All right. Well, that being said, thank you. And if you have any questions, please let us know. If you have anything you want to share, let us know as well.
Hmm. Thank you, and we hope to see you again for our next event.
Thank you.